Hello, you wonderful people. So for today's video, I'm going to discuss one of my favorite video games, and that is me talking about the video game series Kingdom Hearts. Talking about it in general, like, you know, if you're unaware what Kingdom Hearts is, essentially you play the main protagonist in a series, Sora. Sora is on a journey with Donald and Goofy, like legitimately Disney's Donald and Goofy. It's a whole thing. I'll break that down in a little bit. But essentially he wields a weapon known as a Keyblade. It's literally a giant key that is used as a sword, and he fights off these enemies known as the Heartless. Subsequently, there have been other enemies like the Nobodies and Unversed, but in general, the main threat typically is the Heartless. They're at the heart of every situation in Kingdom Hearts. Are kind of like the general main antagonist with other main antagonists sprinkled in and connected to it. It's this long-running narrative. I guess the genre specifically would be like action adventure JRPG, I guess would be the best way to describe it. To my knowledge, roughly speaking, there are 9 games, 10 when Kingdom Hearts 3 comes out. I'm sure there's kind of give and take with that, because I know there's like some one-off like mobile games. There's like one that was connected to Kingdom Hearts, the first Kingdom Hearts game. There's like a small mobile game that I don't count. There's also the remakes and re-releases that I don't count either, like Chain of Memories, for example, was remade on a PS2. I don't count that. Like, that all gets lumped together as just one Chain of Memories, and other stuff like that, because there's certain side things and prologues and fragment passages and 0.2. There's a whole lot to deal with. So in general, I roughly kind of chalk it up to about 9 games. In general, why do I love this game as much as I do? Because it brings together, to me, what I think is the most amazing thing. Just that this game is a collaboration between Disney and Square-Enix, which is like, whoa, like, you know, someone who enjoys a lot of stuff that Disney's made. They have a lot of classics as well as just a lot of amazing stuff. And then Square-Enix people who've brought me one of my favorite JRPG series, Final Fantasy. So there's that. And obviously, yes, there's also the whole aspect of like, well, they were originally Squaresoft before it was Square-Enix. That's the whole aspect of that too, especially with a lot of the Final Fantasy series. But nevertheless, these two massive worlds came together in this collaboration, and I love it. Because the cool thing about it is too, like, yes, in a lot of the series, especially like there's been talk about in Kingdom Hearts 3, there might be less Final Fantasy to it, but still, even the premise of what this is still pretty awesome, because you have some Final Fantasy characters and you have a lot of Disney characters, and in the middle you have Kingdom Hearts. Like, Kingdom Hearts is a bridge, like, that brings both these worlds of Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts, Disney and Final Fantasy together. But like, Kingdom Hearts itself has its own story too, that's connected to both powerhouses but still holds its own stuff. I mean, in some people's cases, like, the Kingdom Hearts stuff is like, whereas all that is cool and everything, you get to like visit these worlds playing as Sora, Donald, and Goofy. You mainly play Sora, but Donald and Goofy are in your party. You get to go to worlds like Halloween Town, which is where Jack Skellington is, like the Nightmare Before Christmas, or Agrabah, where Aladdin takes place, or Pride Rock, where Lion King, like a whole bunch of Disney properties like that. But like, for a lot of people, it's like the Kingdom Hearts storyline itself is the one that, like, when it gets started, it can really hit, and just, it tells an amazing story. The word that gets used a lot in general amongst people is the term convoluted. That basically the story gets very confusing, which I'll admit, it gets a little confusing me around the Dream Drop Distance stuff in particular, Dream Drop Distance in particular, just in general the game storyline, but definitely stuff near the end. I think I've subsequently kind of pieced it together a little bit more, but it still always kind of got really hazy around there. Everything else kind of flowed a little okay for me, but like I said, still there is a criticism of convoluted. But even people who criticize it for being convoluted still go, I still love the story because it's really good and people enjoy it, you know. So when it comes to my own experience with Kingdom Hearts, I have a very limited experience in certain regards. I have only played 1 and 2. I know the story of the rest of Kingdom Hearts. I've sadly only been able to play 1 and 2, base 1 and 2. I've never actually played the final mixed versions of 1 and 2 either. And the reasons behind a lot of that is because, obviously, if you may or may not know, is the fact is that Kingdom Hearts, a lot of the games in the series, which aren't even like, you know, some people might be under the impression that they're side games. It's like, none of, like, games that weren't on home consoles like the PlayStation 2, like Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 were on, they weren't side stories. They are woven heavily into the main plot. They are important to to the game. So, but I think some people might have been under the impression that they're not. They're kind of like side story, side content, which they kind of play in the side story, but they do heavily influence the main overarching plot as well. So I never had a lot of the systems that a lot of stuff came on, whether it be like the Game Boy, the DS, the PSP, the 3DS, I think in the case of Dream Drop Distance. And then some people might wonder, well, what about like, you know, the HD collection, like remixes, or, you know, with all the final mix and stuff. It's like, well, sadly, I do not own a PS3 or a PS4. If I were to play any version, I most likely will play the PS4 version, especially because they recently, because of the whole Kingdom Hearts 3 thing, is making everything, they're re-releasing everything as one package. Prior to this, they were split up into 2 different packages, 1.5, 2.5, whole thing. So that's it. But even then, subsequently, I still want to play the other games, even though I know the story, just because I just never had a chance to play them. Like, even amongst what I've seen from the other games, I still think Kingdom Hearts 2 is probably my favorite, because it is just action-packed, and I just like a lot of like aesthetic changes they made from Kingdom Hearts 1 to Kingdom Hearts 2. Because Kingdom Hearts 2 added a lot of elements, and it's just like they took what you could do in 1 and they like bumped it up like crazy. Like, legitimately, some of the stuff Sora is able to pull off in Kingdom Hearts 2 is insane. I feel like that's probably like the most powerful version of Sora, especially because in Dream Drop Distance it's like, that's not the Sora from Kingdom Hearts 2. That's a whole thing in itself. Don't want to kind of spoil that. But essentially, Kingdom Hearts 2 so far has presented itself as the most powerful Sora. It seems like obviously Kingdom Hearts 3 is picking up with that Sora. There's a whole thing there too, so. But yeah, just a lot of stuff they implemented. Reaction commands are one of my favorite things, because they're these little cinematic, like, quick time events. Granted, like, you only need to press one button, that's triangle, but still, they're pretty cinematic, like, action points where you can basically do more damage. You can do the cinematic cool things. In general, it's just an amazing JRPG that tells this, like, story that I feel like will make you feel warm and fuzzy at times, and then there are moments you will literally kind of, like, feel sad and kind of want to come to tears a little bit. Yes, that sounds a little mushy, I'm sure, but it's like legitimately, you know, some people might use the terms cheesy friendship type of games, and they kind of are, and that doesn't have to be like a negative, because even if someone's like, oh, is that cheesy friendship stuff, even I'll be like, yeah, I love me some cheesy friendship stuff, because that's like the antithesis of the entire series. It's like the bond between Sora, you know, and his friends Riku and Kairi, but also his bonds with like Donald and Goofy, as well as everybody, you know, the whole aspect of like Hearts being the big like thing in the game, hence the title, Kingdom Hearts, like everything has to deal with hearts and light and darkness. It's a video game series which I highly recommend. I mean, especially because of the HD remixes and like re-releases, and the fact is that Kingdom Hearts 3 is like right around the corner. It's like one of the perfect times to get into Kingdom Hearts. Like, a lot of people have like, who might not have never had the opportunity to play Kingdom Hearts, or who've played some here and there, you've seen like a whole bunch of people like taking this time to like, okay, Kingdom Hearts 3 is like right around the corner, so they're replaying stuff to refresh their memory. I still say you need to play Kingdom Hearts for the story, but a lot of people might only play Kingdom Hearts just for the games. They probably don't really care too much about the story, which is like, I think that's crazy, because it's a good story that you should take time to really invest into, because it's like, it's not only are they just fun, amazing games as just story, I mean, as like gameplay wise, they're fantastic story wise too. Like, even if you use the term convoluted, like I said, even people who use the term convoluted still adore that story, you know. So I think that speaks volumes all in itself. It's actually kind of crazy, because sitting here thinking about this series is like 15 or 16 years old, that this narrative, this story has been built out like this. And, you know, as someone who is a fan of it, you know, hopefully before Kingdom Hearts 3 comes out, I managed to get me like a PS4 so I can play through everything. Like I said, even if I do know the story to everything, I would still like to experience a lot of the games that I wasn't able to experience, like, you know, Birth by Sleep or Dream Drop Distance. This is kind of a terrible breakdown of it, but these are just kind of general like discussion points I kind of wanted to kind of elaborate on. There's like so much you could really break down about Kingdom Hearts. Like I said, there's a lot of games and there's a lot of time to kind of really break individual things down, but just as a series as a whole, I love and adore it. And I, you know, want for those minute amount of people who've never played any of the Kingdom Hearts game, who don't really know anything about it, do play them. They're fantastic. And yeah, but I guess that's really all I want to talk about in this video. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good